Hey, just wanted a little public service announcement. If you're feeling not so worried about this election, you don't really care, it's probably because you've never been oppressed. See, what happens right now is young white males are rising up against women. They're rising up against the trans and the gays. They're rising up against anything that's not a regular young white male. And why are they doing that? Because that's how it works every time. Every time a minority class is oppressed and that minority class starts to rise up and gain their power, fascism shuts them down. So let's go way back. Let's go back to the African American fight, the civil rights era. The minute African American people found their power, started to protest, passed the laws, the racism didn't back down. It got worse. Then women stood up and protested for their right to vote and their rights as a woman to make decisions regarding their own bodies. They rose up in protest. They changed the laws. Those feelings haven't gone away. You remember back in history, before the war, men were the ones that took care of the family. Women were to stay home with the children and cook dinner and clean the house. And then the men went off to war. And what did they do? Rosie the Riveter came out. Let's be girl power. Let's show the world that women are the ones that are strong and women are the ones that can save our country. They didn't do it for girl power. They did it to shove you in the factories to do the jobs because the men weren't here. And as soon as the men came back from the war, all the propaganda changed. Now it was all about the little White House with the white picket fence and the 2 children and the mom cooking and cleaning and the wonderful kitchen and the Tupperware ads. They changed their messaging. Based on where they want women or minorities to be, they change the messaging. And this happens with all types of minorities, whether it's Indigenous people, whether it's African American people, whether it's immigrants, whether it's trans people, whether it's LGBTQ community. Anybody that is different from a regular, straight, white male has been oppressed at one point or another. And you know what? If you're not bothered by this election, that means it's never had to matter to you because your life's been pretty damn comfortable so far. You've never been denied a job position because you were a man. You've never had to walk through a parking lot with a set of keys in your fingers, worried that you're going to be attacked from behind. You've never been an African American person worried that getting pulled over for a broken brake light is actually going to get you arrested or shot. You've never been a woman that's had to go into an abortion clinic, even though it's not something that she absolutely struggles with, but knows it's what she has to do, and she's been heckled by people from the outside. You've never been a person on disability who can't walk and is in a permanent wheelchair and needs permanent assistance all day long to be taken care of just to bathe and eat and take care of themselves. You've been lucky. You've been able-bodied. You've been working. Anytime women have stood up and started to rise, they burned us. They did it back in the day when they shoved us back into the kitchen. They burned the witches back in the 1800s because women were finding their power in medicine and that Christianity did not want women to have the power of medicine. That's what they did. They burned the witches. So now fast forward to our age of what's going on. What happened to the African American people? They started to rise up at the injustice of the police who were treating them like garbage and performed the biggest protest in Black Lives Matter. And suddenly they're demonized for standing up for themselves. You've got the Indigenous people in Canada that we're finally trying to make amends with, and you still have residential school deniers. And if you're one of those straight white men who's never had a problem, you know what happens when you've never been bothered your entire life? All of a sudden, everyone else starts to catch up to you in fairness and equality, and it feels like you're being oppressed. But you're not. It's just everyone catching up. And instead of calling it what it is, you call us woke and tell us that we have woke ideologies. Well, if woke means taking care of my fellow man, I'm woke. Pick me, I'm in. I truly believe when you look at the statistics right now, women are the majority of students at intellectual institutions. So the high-end colleges, the high-end universities, women are the ones that are enrolled. Up to 60% of enrollees are women. This is our time. Our time. Women are standing up. Women are getting involved in politics. Women are starting to get loud. People call us bitches when we start to get loud. But you know what? It's our time. It's our time to make a difference. And unfortunately, we don't have a woman running for prime minister, which I would be totally for supporting. But unfortunately, we do have somebody completely on the opposite end of the spectrum. So whatever you think of Mark Carney is irrelevant. What you think of Pierre Poilievre and what he thinks of women is exactly what you need to be paying attention to. And if you are a man who has a woman in his life and you find Pierre Poilievre's behavior acceptable, you need to be called out for that. Pierre Poilievre literally puts the hashtag for men who go their own way on his social media to attract white incel men. He does this on purpose. Because he wants all of you to feel that feeling. He wants you, instead of feeling like everyone is coming up in fairness to reach you, he wants you to think that you're the one being oppressed now. And this is the propaganda that's been going on for the last 12 years. Look at the poor white man. The immigrants are taking all his jobs. Look at the poor white man. The women are standing up for themselves and don't want to deal with jerks anymore. What about the poor white man whose wife took him for all his child support because he didn't want to pay for his kid? What about the white man? What about the white man? The rest of us are getting tired of hearing it. So if you're voting conservative and that's the kind of stuff you stand for, you need to let everyone out know in your public life with your full chest who you are so that they can decide to write you out of their lives. But if you are a man who's not really involved in politics and you want to support your other half, get involved. Start to care. Start calling guys out in the locker room for being jerks. Start calling guys out in the smoking area for being assholes. Don't sit in the corner of the room of 15 people while they're, putting down women and talking about their hoochies and coochies and don't say a word. Don't be that guy that sits in a room and listens to a bunch of guys complain about immigrants. Be the guy that stands up. Be the guy that holds them accountable. Be the one that says that kind of behavior is not acceptable. Because if you just sit in the corner and ignore it, you're just letting it happen. Just like all the Germans let the mustache man in because they said nothing. You're just as complicit. So please, if you're one of those guys out there, start standing up for other people. Start standing up and calling these guys out.